Shiro logs on to the MMO Elder Tales as the new expansion goes live. So does everything else. He can still use the status screen and his items, but for some reason, he's unable to log out. Luckily, the voice chat still works, so he contacts Naotsugu, a former member of their raiding party, to figure out what's going on. But he too is at a loss. They decide to meet up and stick together. They can't treat this as a game anymore, and they decide to gather as much information as possible. Staying inside the city of Akihabara to avoid the hostile zones seems like the best way to orient themselves within this new world. As they set off, someone throws a boulder to get their attention. It's Akatsuki, an assassin and friend of Shiro, who requests an appearance reset potion. Hearing their voice is explanation enough. Since she's a solo player, like Shiro, he invites her to join their party, which she takes a bit too seriously, pledging her loyalty to her new lord. Despite having all of their senses, when they try to create food through the usual in-game methods, it's flavorless. The Crescent Moon's guild leader, Marielle, invites them to discuss potential next steps after sharing information, which isn't much to go on. Fast travel isn't viable, as the city's teleportation doesn't function anymore. Without anything to offer, Shiro declines Marielle's offer to join the guild in favor of exploration.
This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends has taken over, and gaming will never be the same again. Raid is the first game to bring a true console-level experience to your phone. They've set the bar high, and there's no going back. Explore millions of champion combinations and master countless tactics as you take on raid bosses, dungeon runs, campaign battles, and PvP arena matches. With hundreds of artifacts to equip and over 600 champions blessed with unique skills, you can build your team, develop your champions, and raid your way. The best feature that every game needs is that sweet autoplay button. Pair that with the stellar ability to double the gameplay speed, and you can enjoy epic gameplay while watching your favorite anime. It's always a drag when your phone dies, but Raid is also available on PC, so it's a breeze to pick up where you left off. Never miss out on timed events again. Don't let your battery drain interrupt your raid. If you're a collector, then you absolutely love the seemingly endless torrent of masterfully crafted champions. Each one is incredibly unique, and they're constantly adding more, so you'll always be able to scratch that itch. And this month, Raid's just released a giant new feature, Awakening, and a new brutal dungeon, the Iron Twins Fortress. If you're good enough to take down the Iron Twins, you'll see a huge payoff, being able to awaken your champions. Awakening your champions lets you choose a powerful blessing that can transform how they perform in battle. I absolutely love how awesome some of these blessings look, and there's so much variety. This whole feature has added an entire new level of depth and strategy, and I've been having a ton of fun playing around and testing things out. But wait, here's the big news. Raid has just released a super-powered legendary version of everybody's favorite champion, Death Knight. The whole Raid community has been waiting for this for a long time, and Ultimate Death Knight is everything we hoped for. He's poised, he's powerful, he's perfect, and the best part is, everyone can get him for free just by logging in. All you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and October 27th, and you'll add Ultimate Death Knight to your collection. Easy! There's seriously never been a better time to get started, but there's more. You can also use DK Rises promo code for a bunch of free items to instantly level your new strongest champion all the way to level 50 5-star Ascension. Promo code is available both for new and existing players. And if you haven't started playing Raid yet, click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on the screen, and you'll get unique bonuses worth $30. We're talking a free epic champion, Tayrel, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, and 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in the game. All this treasure will be waiting for you here.
Sarah Ra, a Crescent Moon member in another city, asks Marielle for help. She's being hunted and unable to leave. When the first death occurs in Akihabara, it answers everyone's burning question. He's fine, resurrecting at the cathedral like in the game. The trio decide to hunt some monsters to get used to combat in the new world. Instead of using the interface, Shiro notices how their bodies instinctively know the commands, though they definitely need to practice. Akatsuki decides to scout ahead using her tracker skills on the way back. Shortly after, they run into another party. They threaten the pair, obviously looking to PK. Shiro and Naotsugu refuse to back down. The party's captain calls for his healers as their plans go south, only to see Akatsuki appear after having assassinated them. Without permadeath, They figure PKing will become more prevalent. Afterwards, Shiro gets a call from Marielle, and they return to the guild hall. They learn of Sarara's predicament in Susukino. Apparently, the city is worse off than Akihabara. The trio agrees to rescue her. Despite the map being half-scale, it would take almost a month to arrive by horseback, which is problematic for the guild. The next day, the three of them set off on horseback. When they're out of sight, Shiro and Naotsugu pull out whistles that Akatsuki had only heard of. They summon griffin mounts. It's much faster to fly, so it's no wonder they volunteered. They arrive at the depths of Palm, an underground route through the mountains, forced to traverse the labyrinth, though Shiro already has a plan. They learn that Sarara is safe, giving them time and peace of mind. Nianta, a catman, is keeping her off the radar of the guild, running wild in the city. In Akihabara, Marielle holds a conference in an attempt to create a Crescent Moon alliance with the other guilds. In the depths, as they try to cross one of the stone bridges, Shiro falls, trying to save Akatsuki, only for her to jump into the water below to try to save him. When Shiro comes to, he finds both his companions waiting. Naotsugu ended up saving them both. They reach the exit, but it's blocked by a giant rat man. It must be part of the new expansion, as they've never encountered it before. But they outlevel it by a mile and take it down without a hitch. When they finally see the sun again, Shiro is struck by the beauty of the view, reminding him of the days when Debauchery Tea Party, his and Naotsugu's old group, used to go on adventures just for the sake of it. They arrive at Susukino, which has a different air to it than Akihabara. The guild Brigandia has taken over and is ruling by force, giving no heed to adventurers or the people of the land, NPCs. They decide to meet up with Sarara in the city so no one attacks them. She's in a private zone, so no one can find her position without direct contact. Shiro goes alone, while Akatsuki scouts, and Naotsugu stands guard. Upon seeing the Catman helping Sarara, he's surprised to see his old party member, calling him Chief, though not surprised he was inclined to protect the girl. Their location is now broadcast to the Brigandia members. Demikas, the guild leader, is waiting for them to step foot outside of town to attack, not willing to let the girl escape. Nianta tells her not to worry. Shiro is their tactician. He always has a plan. Immediately upon exiting the city, they're confronted by Demikas and his lackeys. Shiro begins antagonizing him, constantly messing up his name. He agrees to fight Nianta one-on-one. Perfect. Just when it looks dire for Shiro and his team, he reveals his trump card, when Demikas cowardly disregards the honor of a duel. His right-hand man, Londark, is bewildered at how quickly they beat him and demands their healers save him. That is, until he notices Akatsuki's ambush. The Brigandiers are wiped. Sarara gets the final blow on Demikas, who curses Shiro the Enchanter, swearing they'll meet again. While camping out on the way back, Nianta reveals the secret of making food that retains its taste. Instead of using the menu, they simply cook the ingredients like they would IRL. That and have the necessary cooking skills, or chef subclass. Shiro wonders if applying the same methodology to other trades and manufacturing would have similar effects. The next day, Naotsugu notices an impending storm, and Nianta suggests they land for safety. Dying would set their journey back considerably. Shiro advises that they seek shelter in a nearby town, where they meet a family who puts them up for the night. After seeing how the people of the land interact with the world, Shiro realizes that they all have names, personalities, and memories. They aren't NPCs, they're humans. Adventurers are the true abnormalities, maybe even less human in some regards. Meanwhile, a small group of players makes their way through the rain. As they march, the leader angrily criticizes their performance, blaming their low levels. Back at their guild hall, the leader collects a potion from each young member as payment for their meals. In the streets of Akihabara, Toya hears his old mentor, Shiro, and observes him being hailed by Marielle and the Crescent Moon Alliance. He briefly thinks about asking for help, deciding against it. Shiro notices him anyway, worrying about his safety. The Crescent Moon Guild throws a party for Sarara's safe return. Nyanta teaches some of the chefs how to prepare food that tastes like food. But Henrietta, Marielle's assistant, warns about the importance of keeping it a secret. After weeks without good food, it could impact the whole world in ways they can't predict. Shiro and Marielle speak about the slowly improving situation in Akihabara. The biggest problem right now is the exploitation of low-level players. They're being taken prisoner and forced to grind for potions. All adventurers under level 30 receive an XP pot once a day, which the guild Hamlin sells to raiding guilds to reach the new level cap of 100. Shiro becomes angrier upon learning that Toya and his sister Minori, former students of his, are being held captive by Hamlin. Wondering what he should do, Nyanta speaks for everyone, telling Shiro to stop holding himself back by refusing to join a guild. He contacts Minori, who's clearly not okay. He resolves to save her and the rest of the kids. Later, Shiro approaches the Crescent Moon Alliance to help take Hamlin down. His nickname, Villain in Glasses, makes everyone assume he always has some master plan. Henrietta merely asks what he needs them to do. Shiro needs to raise 5 million gold, mentioning the money is just a means to an end. He tells Marielle and Henrietta that he has joined a guild. They're glad he finally has a place to call home. Shoryu asks which guild. Shiro remembers staring over the horizon with Akatsuki, Naotsugu, and Nyanta. The guild's name? Log Horizon. They begin by gathering ingredients and training chefs. Since they're the only ones who know the secret of cooking in the new world, it's the perfect way to make some money. After they construct a food stand, it's burger time. Marielle draws the attention of nearby adventurers. The news is out. The Crescent Moon has developed a method for adding authentic flavor to food. Everyone waits with bated breath until the first customer tearfully exclaims that the Crescent Burger tastes like the real thing. Everyone immediately clamors to get their hands on one. The news spreads to other industrial guilds, including Michitaka, who realizes it will change everything and orders his subordinate to investigate. Back at the guild headquarters, Henrietta presents the first day sales of the stand. Customers spent an average of 38 gold each. Everything sold out, except for Black Rose Tea. It's not enough to hit their target, but Shiro has already initiated the second stage of his grand scheme. Though Marielle expresses worries about the next phase, Shiro assures her that Henrietta can handle the rest. Shiro and Nyanta discover that the city's unoccupied buildings, which were previously background settings in the game, are now habitable. Sojiro Seita arrives, thinking Shiro dislikes him after turning down an offer to join the West Wind Brigade. But Shiro explains that Log Horizon is his means of making the world a better place. It's nothing personal, and because they used to be in the debauchery tea party, he asks Sojiro for help, and he gladly agrees. Standing in front of the guild center, Shiro announces that Phase 2 has begun. Kadashin, Shopping District 8's guild leader, receives an invitation to meet with Crescent Moon for negotiations. Marielle informs him that they want to establish a supply chain for ingredients. When it's time to talk money, Henrietta takes over the discussion, offering 60,000 gold. But he encourages Marielle to consider a full partnership with Shopping District 8. Before consideration, Kadashin learns that 2 other guild leaders have arrived for similar deals. He agrees to sell the materials for half the initial amount, attempting to outbid the competition. At Hamlin's guild hall, the 2 young siblings wait for Shiro to set his escape plan in motion. Minori has a flashback to the time following what players are calling the apocalypse. Despite her fears, Toya was overjoyed. This world had given him the use of his legs back. But that freedom didn't last long. Now they live as prisoners, powerless. They have to rely on Shiro to save them. Minori is crushed. Unable to protect her younger brother, she starts believing they don't merit Shiro's rescue. Back at the negotiations, Henrietta tells all 3 guild leaders that they require assistance for a large operation. She claims the Villain in Glasses is the real brains behind this, stunning the leaders while improving her credibility. Henrietta and Marielle request a 5 million gold investment, unprecedented in Elder Tales. The vast amount leads the guild leaders to believe they're funding a legendary new quest they know nothing about. The negotiations end. Crescent Moon will notify the investors after completing their end of the deal, throwing in the recipes and research on the food they've created. Shiro requests an audience with some of the top guilds in Akihabara, who specialize in different areas. Hesitant that it might turn into a failure like the previous attempt to form an alliance, the guilds accept, as the villain in glasses himself is holding the conference. He informs Minori to wait for his signal. The preparations for the escape are complete. At the conference, Shiro dispels doubts, declaring that he merely wants to enhance the city's living conditions. This provokes William's disinterest. His combat guild, Silver Sword, resigns from the council before they even begin. Meanwhile, the Hamlin hostages wait for the signal as Toya conveys the plan to everyone else in preparation for their escape. Krusty, the leader of DDD, a raiding guild, has reservations about Shiro's choice of conference guests. He defends his decision to include merchant, manufacturing, and proxy guilds, as they encompass the voice of the people. The conference members inquire about how the meeting will protect the peace, and the foundation for Shiro's claim that the city is dangerous. Shiro goes over the EXP pod racketeering, stating that the lack of set regulations allows such actions to take place. The combat guild leaders, Ainz, Isaac, and Krusty, deny that the alliance would be powerful enough to wage war on anyone who defies their proposed laws. Shiro plays his trump card, revealing that he purchased the guild center with the 5 million gold he received from the manufacturing guilds, effectively blackmailing the guilds to seize complete control of the conference. Henrietta and Nyata reveal that the guild center is the only place where players may register guilds and access their money. It also gives Shiro control over who can enter or exit guild halls. Banishing someone is equivalent to putting them on the blacklist. The manufacturing guild leaders learned the secret of food preparation after they held up their end of the deal, and all agreed to join and share the knowledge with everyone. Meanwhile, Shiro gives the signal, and the hostages flee the Hamlin Guild Hall. Minori and Toya are apprehended by Shredder, the only member not already blacklisted. Akatsuki comes to their aid and informs Shiro of the member they missed. He quickly surrenders after his name is added to the list. Shiro puts the others at ease. He wants to create an environment free from abuse of power when creating new laws for Akihabara. Akatsuki reports the success of their rescue mission, and Shiro relays the results to the conference, surprising them once again. Marielle reveals the secret of creating food to the Alliance members. Using the same principles theorized by Shiro, Michitaka reveals that his guild has created a proof-of-concept steam engine. This convinces the main combat guilds, which express their support for the new Round Table Alliance. Going forward, Shiro argues that conflict over hunting grounds should be a form of competition rather than banned outright. He also raises the subject of human rights. Kidnapping and incarceration are far more serious in Elder Tales than in the actual world, since death is not absolute. Then, much to the amazement of the other guild leaders, he adds that these restrictions should apply to NPCs as well. Isaac thinks that the concept of giving NPCs the same privileges as adventurers is ridiculous, though Marielle remarks that NPCs make up a sizable chunk of Crescent Moon's consumer base. The Round Table Alliance forms and declares the new laws of Akihabara. The knowledge of cooking is then widespread. Meanwhile, Shiro remains in the shadows, allowing the others to be the public face. Marielle and Henrietta later note that Hamlin disbanded and left Akihabara. Most of the prisoners joined Crescent Moon, which moved to a larger guild hall to suit its growing membership. Meanwhile, Log Horizon has found the perfect spot for their headquarters. Shiro inquires about Toya and Minori. Marielle reveals they didn't join Crescent Moon along with the others liberated from Hamlin's captivity. As the situation in Akihabara improves, Marielle is desperate for a vacation from her duties. So Shiro floats the idea of a summer camp where players under level 40 can train as well. The 3 kids Shiro helped rescue all decide to go, as well as an eccentric wannabe adventurer named Rundlehouse Code. Shortly after the conference, the Eastal League of Free Cities sends an emissary to Akihabara. inviting the Round Table Alliance to attend a ceremonial ball and a meeting with their nation's nobles. Shiro predicted this interaction, telling Krusty that it would be a great chance to learn more about the people of the land. However, they must be cautious not to become too involved in politics. Upon arriving in Choshi, Marielle and Minori speak to the inhabitants as part of Shiro's request that they learn everything they can about the world during summer camp. He believes that the most pressing worry is how much the people have changed since the apocalypse and how they feel about adventurers. They no longer offer quests required for lower-level players to obtain certain items. Meanwhile, the Alliance agrees to send representatives to speak for the adventurers of Akihabara. The Round Table members arrive at the ancient court of Eternal Ice and meet with Duke Sergiod. Due to the people of the land's anticipation and apprehension at their presence, he invites the Round Table delegates to attend the dance. Krusty makes Shiro participate in the dance, as he speaks with the Duke. With Henrietta's bard abilities, they immediately dazzle the entire ball. Minori calls Shiro to inform him of their dungeon training and her doubts about her usefulness. He tells her that party tactics are more vital than sheer power, and with her prior training with him, she's more than capable. At the conference, Shiro assigns Akatsuki to spy on aristocrats to learn about their plans. He tries to establish a protocol for interacting with the nobility over breakfast the next day. The training camp travels to the Laganda forest and is divided into groups. The two siblings are in a party with Rudy, the eccentric wannabe, and Isuzu, a Hamlin survivor. Eventually, the party encounters some skeletons inside a dungeon. They attempt to work as a team when they're ambushed. It breaks down, forcing them to retreat. At the ancient court of Eternal Ice, Krusty introduces himself to Lanesia, the Duke's granddaughter. The Round Table delegates distribute invites based on their own roles. Shiro will attend a dinner meeting with the Academics Guild, Krusty will attend a young knight's evening party, and Michitaka will attend Lord Dart's feast. Henrietta asks Krusty if he'll be able to bear the discussion. Apparently, he discovered a shield against such scenarios. They don't have to worry, he's got a plan. Lanesia pays Krusty a visit during an exhibition battle against the Palace Knights, where he obligates her to accompany him that evening as a reward for defeating all of the knights. Akatsuki overhears two noblemen and discovers that the Knights of Izumo, a group of ancients, legendary heroes in the game's lore, have mysteriously disappeared. Lord Dart informs Michitaka during a private dinner that Akihabara's culinary revolution has introduced new cuisine to the country, affecting numerous agricultural advancements. At the evening party, Krusty notices Lanesia's dislike of flattery and claims that his time here is exhausting. He jokes about being a barbarous adventurer and how the princess is gracious enough to follow him to save face. According to Akatsuki, the people of the land are divided between viewing them as a threat or potential allies. She also reports the case of the missing Knights of Izumo to Shiro. The two are suddenly interrupted by a strange phenomenon. Everything begins to vibrate, and the flowers wither, putting the enchanter and assassin on guard. A mysterious figure appears, introducing himself as Reagan, the mage of Mirror Lake. Thank you for sticking until the end. Subscribe for more videos like this.